Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Why You Should Move to Microsoft 365. My name is Kevin Vogel. I'm the Vice President of Virtualization Cloud here at Champion Solutions Group. And today I am very pleasantly surprised to have Jim Canfield, who's our Director of Delivery Services here at Champion, who's going to be helping us figure out why Microsoft 365 might be the right move for you. Jim, are you out there?
Good afternoon, Kevin. I'm here.
Great to have you today, Jim. And let's get right into this. Just to do a little bit of housekeeping before we start here. On your Go to My Webinar screen, there's a place where you can ask questions. It's in the questions section of there. We'll be monitoring that as we do the presentation. And if you have anything that you want us to answer while we're on the air, or if you want us to call you after the webinar, please just put it in the questions section and we'll make sure that we take care of it. Also, we are recording the webinar, so we will be sending anyone that registered for the webinar a copy of the presentation and a link to the recording, just in case you want other people to be able to listen and view it. So with that, we'll get started with today's webinar. So like I said, we are going to talk about Microsoft 365. So basically what we want to do is, what is it? That's just some basic information. What are the benefits of Microsoft 365? Why is Microsoft 365 more cost effective than buying the individual pieces of Microsoft 365? How you can upgrade your security posture by using Microsoft 365? How to get more from your investment in Microsoft, upgrade your Windows 10 security using a lot of the features that are in here. We're going to talk about collaboration with Teams. For those of you that haven't rolled it out yet, Teams is really the platform now for collaboration, chat, meetings like we're having here. And Skype will be going away in July of 2021. So Teams will be the thing going forward. Tools to help you adopt and manage Microsoft 365, and then just some next steps. So with that, we'll jump right into this. So as you can see, Microsoft 365 is really a bundle of a lot of the things that you might already be using. So for instance, when we're talking about Office 365, the bundles that you can bundle this with is the Business 365, the E3, the E5, and the F, for those of you that haven't used the F1 SKU, that's the one for frontline workers. And Jim, are you seeing a lot more people out there look at that frontline worker SKU as you guys do your Microsoft 365 or even Office 365?
Well, the short answer to the question is just about all of our clients and existing and new are taking a significant look at the M SKU is what it's called, Microsoft, the F1, E1, and E3 or E5 SKUs, and they're doing it for multiple reasons. And Kevin will get into this, so I'm not going to jump too far ahead, but they're looking at it because of identity-based, because of security capabilities, and the one thing for those of you that are on that's sort of a really, you've probably seen the new Xfinity commercial go, shut up, it can't be true, is these M SKUs actually include CALs. They include the comparable to a core CAL. So anybody who's out there going, what, are you crazy? I'm really not crazy. I've proved it with Microsoft and they proved it with me. So anyway, I'll back to you, Kevin, but yeah, the M SKU is really taking off, and customers who are either not qualifying for EAs or frankly tired of EAs to certain extents, they're taking a serious look at this for their Office licensure, the Windows 10 licensure, still utilizing EAs for servers and other stuff, but so that's all I got. Thanks,
So
Kevin.
really, and Jim, you're educating me here on this. So the core CAL, the CAL that you need to access Microsoft servers, whether they're file servers, domain controllers, whatever they might be, are included here with the M SKU?
Yeah, and the E3 and the E5 SKU specifically include the Windows CAL, which basically allows a user to authenticate or connect to a Windows server, 8, 12, 16, 19. It also includes the System Center CAL, if you're using Windows System Center, and it includes the Endpoint Protection CAL. And then finally, Office 365, since Enterprise has included the CAL for both SharePoint and Exchange, that's usable both in a premise and a cloud environment. So yeah, that's what's included on the E3 and the E5. So that's one of those that everybody goes, really? I go, yeah. So that's a huge change in direction for Microsoft from a licensing perspective. It makes taking a look at CSP to do your licensing. CSP is cloud solution provider, where companies like Champion can bill you on a monthly basis, and you move everything to a monthly versus the 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, forever year contracts. So yeah.
Okay, great. And I heard you mention System Center and Endpoint Manager, which are really becoming one product now, correct?
That's correct. And yeah, Microsoft is basically, as of last week, I guess, they announced the connection or the creation of what's called Endpoint Manager, which is going to be the conglomeration of System Center and Intune. It's available now. So those of you out there who have System Center licensure, you also have Intune licensure. The other way around, a little bit less straightforward, but we're getting there. So
okay,
thanks.
Great. All right, and you also get a Windows 10 license. That's an upgrade license, and we'll talk about that. And then EMS, which is their Enterprise Mobility Suite, which, you know, Jim touched on a few of the products in there. Intune is one, Azure Active Directory, Advanced Threat Protection. We'll get into all those things, but this is the bundle that basically makes up Microsoft 365. So it's why you really want to take a look at these products. And, you know, this comprehensive security solution is really the backbone of this whole thing, and it really integrates great with your Office apps and services. So you can defend against cyber threats, you can protect against your business data, which we're all, you know, really concerned about now. And then the last part with Intune is the ability to manage your devices. And they aren't just Windows devices. These are Macs or mobile devices from like iOS and Android and things like that. So it's not just a Windows product anymore. Am I right on that, Jim?
Yep, and basically Microsoft is trying to deliver that single pane of glass to allow you to manage whatever device it is, mobile device, different platforms. I mean, certain cases when you get into Apple or Macintosh heavy duty, there may be the need for other products to complement Intune, but it does a really good job, as well as System Center. So yeah, the goal is to give you that single pane of glass to allow you to manage any platform that's out there.
And it really is that single pane of glass, like Jim was talking about. That's kind of the secret sauce to this whole thing, is to give you just one place to go to get all of this. And you can see that, you know, it really enables the productivity and inclusivity for all of your workplace workers out there. So you get integrated security, you get great workflow with things like Teams, Forms, Flow, Power Apps. I'll tell you, we were out at Ignite, and that probably was one of the biggest subjects out there that end users were talking about, the ability to develop Power Apps, including Flow and Forms and things like that, to help them streamline a lot of their work processes. And then obviously things like Planner and Project, you know, all these things can be integrated, which is where Microsoft 365 really does a great job at doing that. So let's talk about the things that Jim talked about first, and identity access and management, which I know that's, you know, really something high on Jim's list of things that Microsoft 365. And Jim, why don't you get in just a little bit more in depth about that identity and access management that you were talking about?
Happy to, as soon as I can find the mute button. For those of you out there who've been on calls with me, you can all laugh because I'm always challenged with the mute button. But look, the primary goal of identity and access management is to leverage what you've invested time in Active Directory and to allow you to create or extend it into your hybrid world, whether you have workloads on premise, workloads up in cloud, whether it's Azure or others, because there's other cloud providers out there, connectivity to third-party applications, i.e. Salesforce, Box, etc., and be able to control who has access to these different applications. And then by extension, you have the ability to, in certain applications, have the ability to also reach out to the authentication stage. So for example, salesforce.com is an example. I can create an Active Directory security group, put a user in it. It'll go out to the Salesforce. It will create user for my user, George Smith. George Smith is able to do sales and marketing and this. Okay, it automatically rolls out that account. And in the event that George leaves the organization, I can disable his or her account in Active Directory, and it will go out all the way to and including Salesforce. And in the case of authentication, you can actually have it disable that account, stop him or her from being able to access it, or even go so far as to turn it off. So the purpose of identity and access management is to help us centralize security, control who can do what, when, and where, and leverage the tools that you have now for multi-factor authentication, et cetera, or leverage what's built into Office 365, the MSKU, for conditional access, time of day, location, et cetera, device, et cetera, and be able to deliver that single point of entry, single point of exit, and just for additional value, you have the ability to add additional policies such that, God forbid, somebody is spoofing my cell phone doing MFA or something along those lines. If it's coming from somewhere weird, you can actually make them go through additional steps based on policy. You can even go so far as to say, this guy's a GA. He's not allowed to get in at this time or that point for different locations. So it's very impressive. So it really gives you the ability to, I'll call it simplify, centralize your access to all of your applications. So.
And you could even, I know with conditional access, you could restrict them to only having access, for instance, when they're in the office. So, you know, somebody that would try to hack you or get in and they're not sitting in an IP address that you have authorized, you can make sure that the only place they can access that data from is a specific location, correct?
Yeah, you can do it by many things: IP address, MAC address of the device, time of day, location, physical, international location. In the event that somebody's using VPN clients to hide where they're from, you can add additional levels of security to make sure they verify who they are. You can rely on MFA from mobile devices. You can rely on MFA from the authenticators that are out there, or chips. So yeah.
And all of these things are included in Microsoft 365. So it's not like we're telling you you have to buy additional products. You'll also get things like threat protection, information protection, and we're going to get into that advanced threat that's built into here. And then security management, you know, and that's obviously being able to get insight and guidance into the best practices for security management. So all these things really give you a holistic security across your digital landscape. And that's really what the Microsoft 365 SKUs are doing. Now, I took this out there. And,
Kevin,
go ahead,
Kevin, if you don't, we did get a question in asking, does M365 or the MSKU include single sign-on? The answer to that question is yes. Single sign-on is available. You can use it for authentication and in certain applications authorization, but it does support single sign-on both for premise-based applications as well as external third-party apps. And you actually even have the ability to publish premise-only apps across port 80 and allow users to access them through Active Directory. Sorry, Kevin, I know I'm going too far, but
no, you're not. No, by the way, these are the type of information that's why I got you on the call, Jim. Port 80, port 443, you know all that stuff. I know what they are, but I don't know, which ones they use. So I think that's great. And you've got to remember, our audience is really people that already have Office 365. So this is the type of information they need. Keep giving it. I mean, don't worry about being too much. By the way, if it gets too much, we'll let you know, but I don't think it will. I took this slide right off of Microsoft's site just to give you an idea of how cost effective Microsoft 365 can be. I took the business one because that was the one that I found. And remember that business and business premium, they're for locations that are 300 users or less. So when you usually talk about the E1, E3, E5, those are ones for companies that are larger than 300. So this just as a comparison here, where if you're looking for, cloud identity management and information rights management and DLP and device management and all the different things that you get with Microsoft 365, you can spend upwards and even more than $50 a month, including all the different products, where it's a single price, a bundle of just $20. So it really is a cost savings. I can tell you that for the customers that are adopting this, really the key to it is to use all the different products that are available to you, so you do get the most value from your investment. Jim, do you have anything to add in there?
No, it's interesting though that what we're doing with a lot of clients, and whether they're looking at the business 365 business, the E3, the E5, or the F1, one of the primary discussions we're also having is on products that we're looking to possibly replace. We're not coming in saying, hey, this is bad stuff, you should go with Microsoft, because what we're doing is a lot of organizations have gone out and spent significant amounts of money on multi-factor authentication or third-party virus, spam, malware, policy-based encryption, etc., DLP. And Microsoft has a good story to tell because of the new security offerings that are there. They're providing end-to-end security, so it's worth another look. And I'm not, again, this is not something that on a Tuesday you all decide, okay, we're throwing out all this cool stuff that we've been using for Proofpoint and Mimecast because they're great tools, but it's worth taking another look to say, hey, now Microsoft has improved their story in a lot of cases. In certain cases, they're there for the cloud workloads. In certain cases, they're not quite there for premise, but they're getting there. So it's worth a view. It's worth a look. And it can help you, one, centralize administration, simplify administration, two, reduce the number of applications you have to support, which I know is not an issue for anybody on the call. Ha ha ha, chuckle, chuckle. And three, really be able to leverage that end-to-end management. So thanks, Kev.
Yeah, and one of the things, Jim, just so I can make sure that this is understood, is you don't have to have 100% M365 in your environment. So for instance, if you just wanted to upgrade, let's say your remote users, people that aren't working in your corporate office, so that you get the Intune device management and a lot of the added security for people that are away from the office. You have the ability to only pick and choose the users that you want to get M365 and still keep other users on just a straight E SKU if you wanted to, correct?
Correct. And what we're finding is a lot of organizations, especially organizations with what are called or considered frontline workers, just as an example, bank tellers or folks like that who they're not going to be using huge amounts of Word, Excel. I mean, they need to use them, but the browser capabilities are typically more than they need. The email is more than they need, but security is critical, device management is critical. They can go with the F1 device, and perhaps they only have a couple of gigs of mail, 2 gigs of mail instead of 50. Okay, well, but then for management, that type of thing, a lot of them are going with 3 SKU. And then for the backend folks that are doing e-discovery and other types of higher end security tools, that was where we're going with the 5. So most of the larger organizations we're dealing with are doing a mix and match of the different licenses from the F1 to the 3 and then to the 5. So, and a lot of decisions are made based on telephony and where they're going with Teams and all that other stuff. So, and their needs for Windows 10. So. Thanks,
and I don't think this is unique, Jim. I think a lot of companies, if you look at even just the PCs that they give out to people, they have different configurations based around jobs and what they actually do with them. And it's pretty much the same thing when you're talking about licensing. Am I right?
You are right. And going one step further based on what you just said, though, as I'm in IT, today I buy a PC, 10 PCs or 50 PCs, have them delivered to me. We then run them through an image or some sort Tomorrow, using Intune, you actually have the ability to get a unique registration device or number for the devices you're ordering. So if you're ordering through some of the most of the majors, you can order a PC, they'll give you a number. You can then put that number into your Intune or into your what's called Endpoint Manager solution now. When the user gets the box, the laptop at his or her house, okay, they can literally open it. It'll come up to a Windows 10 startup screen, put in their email address that you've given them, the Active Directory password that you've given them. It will join their local, assume they have a wireless network or an internet connection, and it will then go through the whole process of configuring the device for them. Again, this is something that takes a little bit of time to set up, but once it's done, it can enable you to simplify the process of rolling out, maintaining, managing Windows 10 as you go forward. So and that's all part of this MSKU, leveraging the Endpoint Manager, Azure Active Directory. So.
Right, it's called Autopilot, right?
Thank you. You're making fun of me because you know I always have brain fade on that word. Thank you.
I know, that's why I said. But I'll tell you what it does. It really alleviates the reason for actually having the laptops delivered to your corporate headquarters, re-imaged, and then have to ship them back out to wherever they're going. You can just have them drop ship wherever they need to be. The image that you use, you develop, it sits up in the Azure cloud, and then they pull it right down from there. So it really is a seamless way to get the right image to the right user on the right device, and then have it fully managed through Intune. So Jim, great, that's a great segue. So let's talk about defense against cyber threats, which we all know is a problem with phishing, with ransomware, with malware, with all the different types of threats that are out there now. And part of the MSKU is the ability to have advanced threat protection built into the SKU and help you really secure your device, but more importantly, secure your data and your information that you have out there across multiple products. Anything you want to add there, Jim?
Look, what they've done, Microsoft, is for those of you that have been in 365, we all went through the virus, spam, malware challenges where Microsoft does a good job, but you really have to spend a lot of time customizing it. There were some pieces missing. They came out with advanced threat protection to give you 0-day. They've now come out with advanced threat protection for Azure. They've come out with advanced threat protection for Windows Defender. And the purpose of these tools is to enhance their virus, spam, malware, encryption, phishing, and all the other happy terms that we use to be comparable to the best of breed solutions. And they've done a great job doing it. So at the end of the day, as I said earlier in the call, it's now time to take another look at it and take a look at that whole view into the security piece. And again, those other tools that are out there, they're excellent. I'm not bad-mouthing them in any way, and I'm not bad-mouthing Microsoft. There's a lot of organizations, especially healthcare and financial, that I deal with, will have long conversations about the security capabilities, the spam, the malware, phishing, et cetera capabilities, as well as retention, and that's the big one from 365, and they all agree, yep, it does deliver a best of breed comparable solution, but we're gonna go with a third party for journaling, for example, because it's the known, it's the entity that the legal firms that are gonna send us these nasty grams understand. Here, this is how we do it, this is our journal, we maintain everything for 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, whatever the policy is, period. It's in an unchangeable format, which Microsoft offers, but they don't do that quote unquote journal. They do retention in place. You can journal from 365 to external, but not to Microsoft, or not to Microsoft 365 as a target for journal. That's the one I run across a lot in larger organizations, again, especially health and financial, because legal loves that word journal, which I understand completely. So thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, but in most cases, you know, and like you said, you know, for those healthcare and the ones that are advanced, but I'll tell you, a lot of times this is more than enough, and it's very, very cost effective, which, you know, a lot of times it does come down to cost. I hate to say that, but that's part of the deal. You also get business data protection, encryption, do not forward, all these different things like Jim was talking about. They're all included in M365. I just wanted to make sure that you know what you get here. Securing your devices, even mobile devices, and this is where the things like Intune and a lot of the products that are built right into the M365 SKU, the BitLocker encryption that protects your data if it's lost or stolen. All of this is included as part of the M SKU. So you're getting a real robust security environment that you can deploy, and how you deploy it is really up to you. It's not that there's no cut and dried way to do it. It's what's best for you. And luckily Champion has done, like as you can tell from Jim, a lot of these for a lot of different customers in different industries, and we have a lot of the best practices or recommended practices for the different industries, and I'm sure that we can help you across the board here. So basically it comes down to securing access to your enterprise, to defend your digital landscape, to safeguard your sensitive data, and really respond to and to manage your risk out there. Really is the key 4 points that you're going to get from the M SKU. We talked a little bit about the hybrid environment. I know Jimmy did when we were talking about Azure Active Directory, and we talked about it's basically a P1 SKU that gives you the multi-factor authentication, that gives you conditional access, and really Jim was talking about the Salesforces and the Workdays and all the different types of public clouds out there that it ties into. Jim, do you want to add? I know we've talked a little bit about this. Do you want to add anything around the Azure Active Directory?
I'll tell you the one that's look. You can see from the picture, you've got Concur, you've got Google, you've got Salesforce, you've got whatever, okay? These external applications, a lot of y'all have probably done Active Directory Federation Services, which is Forms or SAML or some other silly acronym that I can't remember, authentication that every time the vendor provides or makes any changes, you have to go and fix it. Microsoft with Azure AD, they've actually helped and they're worked with thousands of applications, and they literally have a one-page how to integrate your application into Azure AD. The one that a lot of clients really, and I said this earlier in the call and I apologize for repeating myself, but for those of you that support VPNs are amazing and wonderful and marvelous and a big pain in the VPN, but utilizing those on-premise applications and actually creating a reverse proxy where we literally get a customized link that's made available through port 80 behind an Active Directory account. I can literally take an app that's only available if I'm VPN'd in or on-premise. I can actually publish it through portal.office.com and click on it, and it's sitting behind my Active Directory account without having to do anything fancy other than create a small proxy server on-premise and then be able to publish the app. It's the one that a lot of people are like, really? Yeah, it's the external apps. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's not like turn it on, it works. But long story short is that we're taking stuff that for years and years and years I've only been able to access through my Citrix or my whatever on premise or a web server on premise and publish it through port 80. It just makes it so much nicer and easier, and you don't have to build a new authentication authorization mechanism. You're just leveraging Active Directory. So,
or a new interface either if you're using portal.office.com, right?
There you go. There you go. Thanks.
All right. And we talked about this is really where Intune comes in, and like we said, things like autopilot that Jimmy was talking about. That's also part of the Intune, but this will do mobile device management, application management, and like he said before, they're basically combining System Center with Intune together and coming out with Endpoint Manager, which is going to be the new name of it. That was just released at Ignite 2 weeks ago when we were there. So that's kind of new. We didn't want to put it on the slides yet until they officially give it their blessing, but it was announced and it is coming out. And like Jim said, if you already own System Center licensing, now you own Intune. It's just one big happy family to manage not only your endpoint devices now, but using the System Center interface, you can still do all of your servers and the things that you have done in the past. Anything you want to add in there, Jim, before I move on?
Nope, you did an excellent job. Thank you.
Okay. See, I finally got one right, guys. Manager, this is another thing, obviously, that you get in here, delivers information protection in the cloud or in a hybrid model, which, let's be honest, most people are in, and will also protect all these other things, everything from, workplace and Facebook to, Blackboard Learn and all the different things that are available out there. This will give you a real I don't want to call it generic, but a real simple interface to be able to integrate your information and protect it using the native applications that you use out there. I'm just going to go to the next one here. Windows Defender. I know Jim mentioned this just a few seconds ago, and how this actually enhances your Windows Defender's traditional endpoint protection, but it gives it that little extra robust environment, things like ATP, which is the advanced threat protection that Jim talked about. And it just gives you that next layer of protection that a lot of people are looking for. And now it's built into the MSKU. Anything you want to add there, Jimmy?
Yeah, I can't find the mute button. Look, the piece that's very exciting is the Defender ATP. Okay, probably everybody on the call is using Microsoft Windows Defender Virus, the native one on your Windows 10 devices, Windows 8, whatever. And then you've probably installed a third-party virus or spam or malware or whatever protection. When you take that free one that you get and you integrate it into Defender ATP with Windows 10, then it gives you the ability to do the end-to-end full view into all of the virus and spam, really leveraging that you've probably seen the commercials from Microsoft where they have the guys in the war room with the big old screen on the desk, etc. Well, they're going through millions and millions of different things on a daily basis and making those available to everybody who's using the Defender ATP. So it's really quite impressive, and it's worth the time of taking a look at it. The Defender ATP, it's something that we typically do for clients in just a week or two of customization. It integrates in through firewalls. You can connect it to your firewall and pull data from there. It connects to your SIM if you have one. It connects to other devices that you have in your environment to help give you a full end-to-end picture. Yes, I can speak. I've been having speech problems all day. Of the organization. So Defender ATP it's a Windows 10 environment, and it really helps your organization get a full end-to-end picture and reduce the number of utilities or the number of applications that you're running in your endpoints, okay? And a lot of our clients will run into them and they'll have 2, 3, 4 or more applications running to manage, to do spam, to do malware, to do DLP, MOUSE, you name the acronym. So that's it, Kev. Thank you.
Yeah, and when we talked about enhancing Windows 10 security, this is what we're talking about here. ATP gives you that next layer of security that Jimmy was talking about. And, just from, the E5 SKU security, and this comes right from, a Forrester study. I mean, just your cost avoidance. And I will tell you at the end of this presentation, you'll see a link down there where you can actually do your own ROI study right through. And this one was based just on 250 users, but this came right from Microsoft's site. They have an ROI for the MSKU, taking advantage of all the different security products, how it actually works, what your payback is. You can see it's 7 months payback here. And what this thing will actually do from mitigating risks of your organization, which is one of the key factors here that we talked about. We talked about teams, collaboration, and that is obviously built into every SKU of Office 365, whether it's an E1, an E3, an E5, all the M SKUs that we've been talking about. And I just wanted to put in the different use cases for teams, because collaboration now, with the workforce getting younger and people really doing more with their coworkers and collaborating, this is actually, one of the key features. I just saw a stat that, Microsoft has increased the utilization of Teams 50% in the last 4 months. It was just an article that was written just today. So Teams is really taking off a lot with our customers. I know that, we've developed a whole practice around Teams and integrating it with your workflow and with your work practices. So I just wanted to bring Teams up here real quick. I know that it's something that everyone is either already using or will be using in a very short period of time. We talked about some tools to help enhance the management of Office 365. And this is some of our own IP. This is our intellectual property that we've developed here at Champion. And we actually give it away with our CSP. As Jim told you, we are a CSP, which is a cloud service provider for Microsoft. We do all the level 1 and level 2 support of your Microsoft 365 environment. We also give you tools like this one, which gives you onboarding and offboarding of employees. So it builds a workflow that will even communicate with things like ServiceNow and Salesforce and all the different applications that you're actually running through here. We also have an Exchange online backup that is a real-time backup. It actually gets backed up before it even hits your inbox. That one's got an additional cost, but it's really minimal. And a lot of our customers are taking advantage of the backup. Microsoft will retain your data for, Jimmy, is it 14 days or 30 days? I always get that number mixed up.
After I delete it, empty my trash, it holds it for up to 30 days.
Up to 30 days, right.
Yep.
So if you're looking for backup, it's really not backup. It's just things that are already in, your PST file. This actually does a full backup. It's all, you can do e-discovery through the whole thing. It actually is a great way to back up and get a full backup of all of the emails that come in. And it's something that, we do take care of this. We did get a question just pop in, Jim. I don't know if you saw that.
No, actually I didn't. Ah, there it is. There it is. Virtual rights. Ooh, this is a hard question. Keep going. I'll read it and then I'll jump in.
Oh, okay. All right. And then you do get a training module also of all the different products that are built into Office 365. I know we're coming up to our time here, so I don't want to take too much time, but this is just some of the comparisons I wanted to give you, and it will be included in the deck. I know it's an eye chart of what you get with each one of the different licenses. I wanted you to have it as part of the deck. It's not something that we really need to go line by line on this, but here's where we can add our expertise to Microsoft's great product of Microsoft 365. Like Jimmy said, one of our strengths is to help people strengthen your credentials, reduce your attack surface, automate your threat response, increase your awareness of what's happening in your environment, and enable an end user self-service environment to reduce your calls going to your help desk. We can help with solutions like multi-factor authentication, conditional access, and those things. And then the one that Jim is so hot on right now, which is identity management, both for internal and external applications. So this is really where I think we'll be able to help you the most. So Jim, you got a chance to read that question. Anything you want to comment on it before I go?
Yeah, sure. The question was about utilizing the M365 SKU for giving Windows 10 or basically virtual desktop access licensure. For those of you who use VDAs or virtual desktops, Microsoft's favorite license, the VDA. The answer to the question is the Microsoft VDA is available it's not a standalone, or it's not a part of the MSKU. The VDA is available as a separately purchased SKU for, I'm gonna lie, 150 or 160 bucks a month. I don't remember the exact number, I'm sorry. Or you can buy the Microsoft Microsoft Windows 10 Enterprise 3 with VDA, okay? And it runs, the standard Windows 10 E3 runs about $7. With that VDA, it's somewhere around $15 or $16 a month. And I just lied to you, I promise I don't remember the exact number, don't have it in front of me, but it does require that you own a Windows 7 Pro plus the Windows 10 Enterprise licensure. So I hope that makes sense. The VDA is not, though, a standalone SKU that's made available through the CSP. You can purchase it open. You can purchase it through what's called an MPSA, which Microsoft acronyms, sometimes I screw them up, or you can buy it Windows 10 Enterprise 3 with VDA. So I know that was clear as mud. Sorry, guys. I will respond, Robert, to you directly. And if anybody else wants to know, I'm happy to answer that. So thanks, Kev.
Okay, no problem. So where to start here? So we do offer our own cybersecurity assessment where we look at your wow, I got the Jim Canfield disease here where I can't talk, but that's okay. But you can get your security objectives, your current security state, provide customized recommendations for best practices, and create an actionable security roadmap. This is something that we offer to our customers. We also have a monitoring service where we can establish a security baseline. We can do continuous monitoring and reporting to reduce your risks. We can integrate data into compliance or cybersecurity apps to improve overall protection. So these are just some of the things that we can offer you guys. Like I said, this is just some of the next steps. So you can start with the security assessment to understand your current state. You can get a security roadmap delivered to you to help you better understand your posture. You can look at some of the security for SMBs through the links here. And like I said, you'll be getting a copy of this presentation, so you'll be able to do it. We can also, if you want, take you through a more in-depth guided tour of Microsoft 365, and it's pretty easy. All you got to do is call in the champion here, and we'll get an expert on the phone with you and walk you through it, answer your one-on-one questions. You're going to get a link here to the total economic impact. This was a study done by Forrester Consulting just in last year, about a year ago, that really gives you a lot of talk about the Defender ATP that Jimmy was talking about. And then there's the link down at the bottom, roi.transform.microsoft.com. And that's where you can get your own personalized ROI study about the MSKU. I know that we're coming up here on the quarter hour. Jim, is there anything you want to end here for our audience?
No, I think, look, guys, the MSKU, for those of you that have bought Microsoft Office 365 Enterprise 1, Enterprise 3, or Enterprise 5, you go into the admin, you look at the number of apps, and you get 12 apps or 20 apps or 25 apps, and you're like, what do I do with all these? I understand. And you end up turning a bunch of them off. The good news is we think we've done a really good job through our Office 365 training to help you guys take a look at those in a controlled manner and begin rolling out some of the apps. I don't recommend you turn them all on because people will get confused and everybody will be doing things different ways. But as it relates to the MSKU, okay, what the MSKU is doing is it's bringing more apps in to make your life more fun. But more importantly, or what it's doing really, is it's helping you to better identify, secure, and identify what your people are doing, how they're doing it, enabling you as an IT person who's out of his mind or her mind, depending on, because we're challenged, and it gives us the ability to better understand what people are doing, where they're doing it, why they're doing it, and how we can control it more effectively to protect the organization. Because at the end of the day, our job is to make everything available to everybody securely, easily, while protecting the intellectual property of our organization. So that's like really hard, okay? To make things simple is hard, okay? And the MSCU really makes that whole process of making it easier. Sorry, I just don't know how else to say it, but it gives you the tools you need, but it does require that, one, you spend some time and you decide how you want to roll it out. Because if you just turn it all on, you're going to have another 27 tools that nobody uses. Okay, so do it slow, because it will escalate very quickly. You get 2 or 3 or 4 apps in, okay, and then all of a sudden, wait a minute, I have 14 other apps over here, 24 other apps, or God help you if you're healthcare and you got 152 different applications or whatever. And this gives you a central point, and everything rolls back to AD. Whether the authentication is Active Directory or not, it doesn't matter, okay? It gives you the ability to save those records back to AD. So with that being said, that's the key, I think, to the identity-based management that Microsoft's pushing in the MSCU, and I'm all in with them. I think they've done a really good job on the MSCU. I like what they put together. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff in there. There's also a lot of stuff that's very hard, and it takes some time. So focus on identity.
A lot of it, the end user doesn't even really get involved in, which is a good thing, right? I mean, it's not
Absolutely
something you have to go in and configure. It's something that you guys can do as really the security person in your environment, and it just locks them down much more than they are right now, with very little involvement from the end user.
Yeah, and the only word I would correct is, when we're moving towards the MSCU, specifically the identity-based management, it tends to minimize the amount of quote-unquote locking, okay? We're not making things harder for users, we're making it easier for users. For example, AD join. You have a user who's getting a new PC. Instead of going through the annoyance of joining a PC into the Active Directory and creating a new profile and all that stuff, you can literally utilize Azure AD join in conjunction with your Active Directory and join a device, apply basic policies, but allow the user to continue working the way they're used to. So it's really cool stuff. So that's all I got, Kevin. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. We appreciate you jumping in here today and really giving us your, expert opinion on things, since you work with this day in and day out. I want to thank everyone else that was on the call today for their, time and effort. I hope this was worth your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact your rep here at Champion. We'll be more than happy to help you with any questions you might have. Thanks, and hey, happy holidays.